Hello, Bobby Torres of Frightbox Recording here, critiquing subscriber mixes, episode 36. All right, so without any further ado, let's jump into this pre-submitted group of mixes for my loyal subscribers. And up first, we have a mix from Dylan. Let's see what we got. Pretty cool overall, a little bit of muddiness. Let's take a listen. So Dylan, it sounds like you need to use a better impulse response, or if you're miking a cab, which I'm assuming you're not, most of us these days are using AM sims, use a higher quality impulse response. If you don't have access to one, you could download mine for absolutely free. There's a link below in this video's description. Let's keep listening.
I know you think it's wrong, but I know that it is right. 'Cause when you're not here, I can't sleep at night. So hold me closer and let's...
Okay, overall not bad. The one thing I'll say is that the vocals have an insane buildup of lower mid frequencies, so maybe you're using a dynamic mic. I'd recommend cutting a whole bunch more at around 500 hertz and boosting a little bit of top end. Let's keep listening. All the performances actually sound pretty decent. Decent guitar playing. The drum programming or performances sound solid as well. Let's keep listening.
Let's see what this could be. And when it's over, I will finally see that maybe you were right. Maybe I was wrong. You're just alive in my song. My heart is sinking faster each time you walk away.
Also, I'd recommend adding more automation to make room for those layered vocal tracks. But the main thing, Dylan, is that the guitar tone needs some work, and I really think by using a solid impulse response that'll help clear up the mix as a whole. And definitely cutting that lower mid out of the vocals will help clear it up. Adding some extra automation on the vocals will help make room for all the vocal tracks, and you'll end up with a much more professional sounding mix. Thank you for your submission. All right, we have a mix up next from Vincent. Whoa, crazy clipped and crazy loud. I hear high frequency distortion or gargle on the vocal. Let's see. Okay, so the mix itself actually is pretty decent. It's just overly clipped and overly limited, and I could tell that Vincent here tried to do it all at the very end because I don't hear a lot of breathing room and I hear some audible distortion as well. What ends up happening when you don't take care of your transients in the mix itself and when you don't reduce dynamic range slowly, or I should say subtly, throughout multiple processors, is that you end up with a very cluttered, harsh, digitally clipped sounding mix, which is what's happening here. And all of a sudden the instruments sort of sound like they're stepping on top of one another. Let's pay more attention to the song though. The song sounds cool. A lot of high-end gargle on the growls. I'd recommend using a high shell filter and reducing all frequencies above 10K by a few dB. Also turn up the toms. I don't really hear the toms. Great sounding vocals, great riffs, but again, everything is just kind of stepping on top of one another. This mix definitely needs way more automation, a little more subtlety when it comes to dynamic range control. And also Vincent, much like with Dylan, I recommend using a better impulse response. Again, you can download mine for absolutely free. I'm willing to bet that once you use this particular impulse response, Your guitar tone issues will probably be pretty much over as long as you perform as well as you have in this mix, because the guitar performances sound pretty solid and the editing sounds solid. Let's listen to a little more. The guitars are just boxy sounding and phasey sounding. That's due to the impulse response that's being used. Vocal tone sounds great. It's just hurting my eardrums because it's so overly clipped. Vincent, again, take the advice that I shared throughout this mix critique, and I think you're going to end up with a much more palatable, pleasant to listen to sounding mix. Pleasant to listen to? Sounding mix that's brutal, clear, and also enjoyable. Thank you for your submission. All right, we've got a mix by my man, Martin. Let's check it out. Okay, interesting here. Martin's mix is very quiet, yet it still looks like it's limited pretty heavily. I don't know why. Maybe he has his output set to like -14 or something. That seems to be a thing that people often ask me about. They're obsessed with the mastering level. Don't worry too much about that, in my opinion. Just make sure you don't exceed 0. Leave a little bit of wiggle room at the top. That's the way I do it. But anyway, let's keep listening. Great playing. Actually, Martin's mix is not limited to death. It's still pretty pleasant to listen to. I don't hear much audible digital clipping. I'm waiting to see if there are any vocals here. Any vocals in this mix? Very nice guitar playing, great drum programming. One thing I would say is that the drums sound very bright. I would dial back some of the high frequency on the toms and the snare so it sounds a little more natural, if that's what you're going for. I'll say this, from a production standpoint, if this is instrumental, there's a whole lot of riffing without any melody or any top line. I'd recommend, if you are not going to put vocals in this song, to either chop some of the sections down or have a top line that takes the place of the vocal. Because I'm kind of confused. To me, it sounds almost like a track that's meant to have vocals, but the vocals just aren't there. But with that being said, the playing sounds phenomenal. The mix sounds solid as well. Let's listen to a little more. Yeah, those toms are pretty clickety-clackety. What I would do is either dial back the high frequency that you have boosted or allow a little more of the lower mids in there to warm them up a little. I know these are programmed drums, but that'll definitely help your mix overall. Even if you do want a more modern, aggressive sounding mix, this is a little over the top with the clickety-clacketies on the toms, in my opinion. Kick sounds cool though, and the snare sounds pretty cool. And the cymbals sound cool. And the guitar tone's cool. All right, we need vocals in here. Yeah, this needs a vocal. Yeah, Martin, excellent mix. You're clearly a talented dude. I just want to hear a full song with vocals and also utilize some of the mix techniques that I've shared with you, or some of the mix tweaks that I've shared with you, and I can't wait to hear your future work. All right, we have one more mix here by longtime viewer, Mr. Yang Buemo. Yang Thumb Buemo. Bemo. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Yang Thumb Buemo. Sorry, I think that's what it is, but I know you're a longtime viewer of the channel. I know you're a talented dude as well. I can't wait to hear your mix. Let's check it out. And this mix is the complete opposite. A lot of dynamic range, which is actually a good thing. But I see, if you look here in the mix, very spiky. So you do want to tame down those transients on your drum bus with some clipping or tape saturation, and also on your two bus as well. But from what I've heard, I heard some good playing and a decent mix. Let's keep listening. Great playing. something's out of tune in there, in the rhythm guitars. Yeah, awesome bass tone. Again, check the tuning man on your rhythm guitars. Great lead playing, you're a killer guitar player. Much like with Martin's mix, I would love to hear a full song with vocals. And if you're not doing, vocally music, if it's instrumental, have a top line in there. But yeah, killer job overall. It's hard to judge this mix because it's not really a complete piece of music, in my opinion. But the seeds, the foundation for something awesome are certainly there. And I cannot wait to hear your next project. I would just like to shout out and thank everyone for submitting this excellent group of mixes. And if you're interested in having your mix featured on the channel, there are instructions in this video's description. Please read them. And until next time, drink that Spindrift.